An Adams County man's behind bars charged with sexually assaulting a minor. State police say 52-year-old Ted Bankert of East Berlin had sexual contact with a 16-year-old boy and had smoked pot with him. Police say it happened over the summer. News from Dauphin County. 2 men were arrested for 3 armed robberies in Lower Paxton Township last week. Police say 33-year-old Rafael Picado used a knife to rob the Turkey Hill on Union Deposit Road and the Advance Auto Store on Allentown Boulevard. 27-year-old Zachary Stroud also allegedly used a knife in a home invasion robbery on Hastings Drive. Both men were arrested in the Pennswood apartment complex. To York County, where a small fire broke out this morning at York Haven Fabricators in Newberry Township. The manager of the business says it started just before 8 a.m. in a dust collector. And we now know the cause of yesterday's fire in Washington Township. A state police fire marshal says it was an accident sparked by hot ashes. Investigators say the homeowner set the ashes aside in a plastic bucket, thinking they had cooled off. The homeowner is a snake breeder, and hundreds of snakes were killed in the fire.
Former Lebanon.
A veteran Harrisburg police officer will be charged with stalking and harassment. He's been on suspension since September, when the allegations first arose.
News 8's Jim Sinkovitz is live from Harrisburg.
Corporal Todd Chance.
The state Supreme Court has suspended one of its justices after being implicated in the state's porn email scandal. 4 of 7 state Supreme Court justices handed down the decision, admonishing fellow Judge Seamus McCaffrey by suspending him. McCaffrey has said he won't go down alone. He's been suspended with pay for what he calls the private emails among his friends. His attorney says the suspension is the result of grudges within the court. He points fingers at Chief Justice Ron Castile, saying he's been on a relentless crusade to destroy McCaffrey's reputation. In a statement, his attorney also says, "We will continue in our efforts to expose the malicious intent behind this effort to take down Justice McCaffrey. We're confident that he will be cleared of any wrongdoing and return to the bench soon." The scandal surfaced about 3 weeks ago. That's when the state attorney general's office released copies of messages on the state accounts of 8 men who used to work in its office. Now, the court suspension of McCaffrey cites other reasons beyond the porn scandal, including allegations McCaffrey paid referral fees to his wife.
In Harrisburg, the man expected to be the city's next treasurer is withdrawing his nomination.
York City Council tonight voted 3-2 to approve an ordinance expanding the number of food cart vendors in the city. Right now, only one is in operation on York's Continental Square. The ordinance expands the number of carts to 11. The proposed ordinance also regulates the locations where the food carts will be allowed. New tonight, about 45,000 people could be seeing their earnings taxed at a higher rate next year. Tonight, York City Council considered hiking the earned income tax from 1% to 1.25%, and it passed. It will affect about 27,000 city residents and 18,000 people who work in the city. The money will raise about $2.4 million and be used for the city's distressed pension fund. Next year, the city owes about $8.2 million on its pension fund. The increase would increase about $75 a year for someone who makes about $30,000 a year.
Firefighters in northern York County.
Johnson, News 8.
The mayor says the city will be reviving its license appeal board, which will help put nuisance businesses in Harrisburg out of business.
Now to the latest on the manhunt for shooting suspect Eric Freen. Pennsylvania State Police are investigating whether a stolen car found in New York is connected to the search. The local sheriff's department says there's no connection, but it says it's checking everything out. A state police spokesman says they're searching the woods in Barrett, Price, and Paradise townships. Now tomorrow, it will be 6 weeks since the shooting that killed Corporal Brian Dixon and wounded Trooper Alex Douglas.
In an emergency, children learn to dial 911. But now the American Red Cross is offering another button on your phone that could help save lives. And as News 8's Lancaster County reporter Caitlin Smith explains, it's free and meant to be fun.
Stock News 8.
Wow, what a way to end the week. That's
Just in time for the holidays,
That's
huh?
great.
Yeah, very good. Coming up next on News 8 at 6, from the 8 on Your Side team, a story that could affect your health care. The Warwick School District had to scramble today after mistakenly telling hundreds of families that their students were not in school. A school district spokeswoman tells News 8 that human error caused the district's automated call system to call the families of all 400+ students at the John Beck Elementary School. Once the error was discovered, calls and emails were sent to parents explaining the error and offering an apology. Now to the latest on Ebola in America, a response today to calls to block travel from countries dealing with the Ebola outbreak. Homeland Security has announced new restrictions on passengers traveling from 3 African countries battling the disease. Meanwhile, in Texas, new facilities and procedures to fight the spread of Ebola. NBC's Jay Gray reports. A scary moment for some customers inside a credit union in Philadelphia. A car slammed into the front door of the Police and Fire Federal Credit Union building. The force of the crash caused a brick column to fall on the car, smashing its windshield. No injuries were reported. New details tonight in the Ray Rice case. We could learn this week whether NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell will have to testify at Rice's appeal hearing. Rice was indefinitely suspended by the NFL after being involved in a domestic violence incident in the offseason. If his appeal of the suspension is granted, he could return to the NFL and be eligible to sign with the team. Rice was suspended after striking his then fiancée in an Atlantic City hotel elevator.
To South Africa, where former Olympic track star Oscar Pistorius is spending his first night in prison.
Our top story tonight, the state's mayors hold a summit in Harrisburg to discuss their struggles with fewer dollars and growing problems. Half a dozen Susquehanna Valley mayors were at tonight's summit. News 8's Jim Sinkovitz has the story.
If there's one...
Jay Gray, NBC News, New York.
Today, Maryland joined 4 other states with mandatory quarantines for people who've come in contact with Ebola patients. A state Supreme Court justice has retired after being caught up in the porn email scandal. Justice Seamus McCaffrey ended his nearly 8 years on the Supreme Court bench. He's retiring immediately. And in a 2-paragraph statement, McCaffrey pledged not to serve as a judge again in Pennsylvania. You may recall how a week ago, a majority of his colleagues on the bench suspended him. The Chief Justice had earlier revealed that McCaffrey sent hundreds of pornographic emails to a friend who was an agent in the Attorney General's office. The Judicial Conduct Board has been investigating McCaffrey for the emails, but since he's now retired, the board has closed its investigation. McCaffrey would have been on the ballot for retention in 3 years. In Lebanon, police are looking for the gunman who allegedly sexually assaulted a woman inside her home. It happened in the 900 block of Chestnut Street around 9:30 Saturday night. Police say the 25-year-old woman said a man wearing a hoodie knocked at her door. When she opened it, she says he pointed what appeared to be a small silver handgun at her, entered the apartment, and then sexually assaulted her.
I don't like it. I live here, you know, my family lives here, and I have kids, and if something would happen to my daughter, I don't know what I would do.
After the assault, the suspect allegedly demanded money from the woman's family, then left. Police are urging residents not to open doors to strangers. The United Methodist Church's highest court has ruled that former Lebanon County pastor Frank Schaefer can remain a minister. A jury initially suspended him for 30 days, but he was eventually defrocked when he wouldn't rule out officiating same-sex marriages in the future. An appeals court reinstated Schaefer last summer, and today the church's highest court upheld the reinstatement. While the council did not take a stand on same-sex marriage, it wrote that, quote, "We are mindful of the divisions within the church."
I'm very relieved. I'm relieved that it's all over and I'm still a reverend, and that feels great.
Schaefer, who has 3 gay children, has become an outspoken advocate for LGBT rights. Here's the latest now on the manhunt for suspected trooper killer Eric Freen. State police say they're awaiting test results on blood found on a farm in Barrett Township, Monroe County, to see if it is Freen's. Police collected the blood on Saturday. And today, state police started using an unmanned surveillance balloon in the search. It's on loan from the Ohio Department of Transportation. Unlike helicopters, the balloon is silent and can spot Freen from up to 3 miles away. Commitment 2014 coverage of the race for governor. Just 8 days until Election Day, and more big political names are getting involved in the race. Former President Bill Clinton was in Pittsburgh today, delivering a message of support for fellow Democrat Tom Wolf.
Maybe near 60 degrees, but temperatures bounce back up. Next week looks mild.
All right.
Didn't that wind this morning kind of sound like winter a little bit?
It was whistling.
It was, wasn't it?
It was whistling.
All right, well, that does it for News 8 at 6. Of course, NBC Nightly News with Brian Williams is next.
We'll see you again for News 8 at 10 and News 8 at 11. Until then, enjoy the evening.
Good night.